Hey guys, I'm Nick and today we are gonna be talking about something a bit more personal than we usually do on this YouTube channel. If you're new here, please consider subscribing as it really helps me out and you never miss an upload that way, so if you like these videos, YouTube will serve them to you more often. Also, please leave a like if you enjoyed this video and a comment because that really helps with the algorithm on YouTube. So, for starters, I think it's important to talk about like when I started streaming and how I started streaming. I started streaming when I was 14. During like Christmas break, I was online with some of my friends and some of them were streamers and I was like, hey, I might give it a shot too. So I tried streaming for the first time on like 21st December 2021 and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. I tried having a YouTube channel back when I was like 10 years old, but then I kinda gave up because I did not have the motivation for it. When I was 14, I decided to give it a shot again and I loved it. I mean, I always wanted to be some form of content creator because it's kind of like being an entertainer, but also you don't need to have like connections into the world already to just start. So it kind of started going downhill for me in 2024. In January 2024 is when I kind of reached my peak and I was averaging 10 viewers all the time until June. And that was kind of the time when I was really having fun streaming and it was pretty obvious. I mean, I've always had fun streaming. I never force myself to make content when I don't feel like it, because I just feel like having fun while you're doing it is a big part of why the content is good and actually gives someone something. Even if no one watches your content, but you're at least having fun making it, that means someone is getting something out of it. That was always the main reason why I never forced myself to make content up until that point, when something changed. I think it's important to say, during that time I was going to therapy, but it wasn't therapy where they can give you meds, because you actually, I don't know how it works elsewhere, but you have a therapist and then you have a psychiatrist which can actually prescribe you meds and more so like talks to you about your diagnosis, and then a therapist more so just talks to you about like your day-to-day struggles. And I had a therapist, but I did not have a psychiatrist yet, and I was heavily struggling. Like, it was the worst time of my life. Online, I was just kind of escaping that. And I mean, that's always what streaming been about for me, like kind of having a space where I feel like myself and I feel comfortable. This kind of changed in May 2024, which is still during that like high I was having. There were things on my streams that started happening. I guess my content at the time had a lot of humor that kind of attracted weirdos, or I don't know if it was me or my content or if it was just Twitch in general at that time. There's a few clips where you can clearly see I did not feel that safe in my community, and that's when I kind of started like making plans with my friends to actually be online every single time I'm streaming, so they could like ban people. Hey, if I'm going live, you need to be there. At least someone needs to be there because I don't feel safe otherwise. In July is when the high kind of stopped. Well, it didn't stop out of nowhere. It was kind of still going on. It just kind of lowered. I was streaming a lot, but also other people weren't as much on Twitch. So it kind of started slowing down, and that's when everything started crashing down on me. All the things that have happened since May just kind of clicked into place and started really eating me up. It was also when I actually got a psychiatrist and got antidepressants, which at the start of July, you know, it caused me a lot of problems, because when you are getting used to new medication, it can, for the first couple weeks, be very hard on your system and you might have very big mood swing, energy swing, get into even more depressions than you were before for a while. I was not having the best time in real life. Like, I had no one, or at least I felt like I had no one. Either way, I kept trying to push through the burnout I was going through because of not feeling as comfortable in my own community anymore. Well, it wasn't my community making me uncomfortable. It was more so just random people on Twitch who would join purely to just sexualize me or make me uncomfortable in other ways, and it was very discouraging. I was also kind of discouraged because I started posting on TikToks my clips from streams, and it got into the wrong For You page. TikTok started pushing it out to check people who usually aren't as great as like the global internet is with homophobia, transphobia, generally just people being like cringy. I was getting a lot of hate comments at the time on TikTok that I kept deleting because I was like, I don't need to deal with this. But yeah, that's basically kind of when I was struggling with everything was July 2024. I eventually streamed through July, like all hours together, more than I did in the past 6 months. If you look at the data on my dashboard, it's like very clear I was trying so hard to overcompensate for the fact I felt like my streams were boring, so I was trying to stream more. I think another important thing that kind of added to my struggles was when in December 2024 I had my first full blackout. Like I passed out just out of nowhere. I mean, I always knew I had a low blood pressure ever since I was a kid, and I do get dizzy all the time, and just generally my blood flow isn't that great. Take from that what you will, but it was one of the scariest experiences of my life because I was at my friend's prom and I wasn't even drinking, and out of nowhere I just kinda passed out on the floor, and I don't remember anything what happened during the time I was out. I just know I woke up with a random man, kind of like really freaked out, standing over me, asking me so many questions, and I couldn't even speak because I was so out of it. Since then, I've had a few of these blackouts, and they are still very, very scary. Because of all those things combined, I kind of stopped streaming. I was almost afraid to stream because I was scared if someone does notice that I'm live, will they come into the stream and unfollow because they're bored? Will they just join in to make fun of me? Will they say something and I'm gonna have a complete breakdown? And I just couldn't hold it together enough to like bring myself to stream. I was almost in kind of... I wasn't really depressed. I was on my medication that was really helping. But at the same time, I still had a sort of block towards like getting back to streaming, even though I never at any point during this wanted to completely end with streaming and content creation. I just, every time I tried to sit down and do it, I would just suddenly start feeling almost sickly. Then we kind of fast forward to May 2025, which is when I found out why I had been struggling to eat and vomiting for months. Like, it's been basically since start of 2025 that I had been really struggling to eat, and I was throwing up like almost every single morning, and that was kind of like a thing that we kind of wrote off on my anxiety with my psychiatrist until May 2025, when I was on medication for a while and I wasn't feeling as stressed. I wasn't having almost any panic attacks already. I used to have panic attacks like 3-4 times a week. Like, it was really, really bad, and that went on for years. But at the same time, why was I still having these physical struggles with eating and stuff? Did tests with doctors and stuff like that, and they found I have like a bug in my stomach that kind of developed because of the throwing up from stress over the years. We had to put me on like antibiotics and then stuff like that. There was a lot of stuff included. I had to take like 4 different medications just to fix my stomach. It was actually low-key insane, and to this day it's not fully healed. We started fixing that problem, but it wasn't really a quick fix thing. It was like over time it got a little better, and it still is getting better. To this day I cannot have Coke or Pepsi or anything like that because it will make me sick. While I was also struggling with this, my school basically failed me in a subject, which meant I had to retake an exam of overall what happened in that year of that subject. Otherwise they would have me repeat the year, or I would have to switch schools. And I am gonna be honest, I didn't want to repeat that year on that school. So I decided to go to a different school if I failed, which I did. So that's why since the start of this school year, I've been in a different school. I had to go 2 years back of what I would be now. We have like first to fourth year when you're graduating, and I was basically supposed to go into the fourth, but then I failed, so I was supposed to repeat the third I was in. But then I decided to switch, so I'm in second year now. But yeah, I am better now, and I'm at a new school, which actually really helped my mental health, because I was in a class before which was bigger, it was like 30 people, and I didn't talk to anyone there. And now I'm in a class where there's 10 people, which is way better for my anxiety anyway. Those people actually are my friends. So it's really nice to be just in a classroom where you don't feel like if you say something, people are gonna judge you and you will just instantly die, I guess. I don't know, that's what my anxiety makes me feel like sometimes, you know. I just kind of fell off of streaming because I couldn't keep up with it. I always knew I wanted to come back. I always knew Twitch and YouTube were things that I enjoyed and I wanted to continue doing. It wasn't that I didn't want this anymore and I didn't have the motivation, it was just that there was a lot going on for me. And even more than I mentioned in this video, now it's 2026 and that's a year I want to come back fully. I want to be able to stream without feeling like I'm scared someone's gonna say something weird to me again, and I want to make this a comfortable place for me and my community. I'm turning 20 this year, and as tacky as it might seem, 14-year-old me genuinely never thought I'd make it to this age. The friends and community, as small as it may seem, is genuinely what got me through my teenage years. Even if there were some bad times and bad people, it helped me get through my real life. So I guess this video is not just me complaining and explaining why I've been gone. It's also just kind of an apology. People in my community deserved better from me, I guess. And I know a lot of you are gonna be like, no, you should have taken all the time you needed for your mental health, but I kind of feel like I failed you. So please stick around. I'm gonna be trying to push out as much content as I possibly can while still going to school. Anyways, that's the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Bye!